Greetings and welcome back to Doctor Who Revisited, where I go through every single episode of Doctor Who from 1963 all the way to 2022 and review them. And today we are starting a brand new season, and with that also a brand new Doctor Spearhead from Space, the debut episode of Jon Pertwee as the third Doctor. Oh my goodness. Okay, so house cleaning first. We don't know who the Doctor is just yet. Like, the War Games ended without even revealing to us who the new Doctor is at the end of the episode. The episode ends with the Doctor regenerating, but we don't get to see who is going to take the place of the Doctor for the next couple of seasons. And of course that was done partially because they haven't really casted the next Doctor just yet. The reveal happened about 6 months later, but that's really beside the point. So as for the reveal of the third Doctor, which sort of happens like partway through the episode. I mean, even the episode goes on for several minutes. It almost feels like the Doctor reveal was an afterthought. Like, after several minutes of the episode, the TARDIS just lands randomly somewhere, and the Doctor falls out of it wearing the Patrick Troughton clothes, and never seen wearing those clothes ever again, because next time you see him, he's in the hospital, in like hospital garb, trying to recover from regeneration. And this episode, more than the previous post-regeneration episode, I should say, really emphasizes how much regeneration affects the Doctor. Now, obviously, going through this massive change would put a strain on anybody, but to be fair, we don't actually get to see that effect every Time Lord that we get to see regenerate. Like, in most cases, especially on the show, notice this, please, ladies and gentlemen, especially on the show, when a Time Lord dies and regenerates into the next incarnation, they just get right back up and continue their life as if nothing happened. Only the Doctor gets affected by this. Like, have you ever noticed that? Only the Doctor has this post-regeneration trauma of having to wander around, losing some of his memory, bursting with energy, fainting and unfainting all the time. I mean, all that is just further proof to the idea that regeneration originated from the Doctor. That's why he's much more affected by it. Like, why this post-regeneration trauma only happens to him, because he's the original. He is the timeless child. I know some people hate when that phrase is being mentioned, but I mean, open your eyes, people. That is what it is. So, that aside, we get introduced to the format of how this show is going to be show-run for the next couple of seasons. It's mainly going to be based on Earth because of what happened in the previous episode, and it's mostly going to be just unit stories, which I think is great. It was a great stroke of brilliance that they introduced Lethbridge Stewart in the Web of Fear a couple of seasons before, and the previous season they introduced Unit. Like, I've been saying this for a while now, ever since the War Machines. Like, it became more and more apparent that whenever the Doctor visits contemporary Earth, present-day Earth, I should say, he's going to have to run into the military a couple of times to help him with some of the major threats that are going to threaten the world. Starting with, obviously, the War Machines in 1960s, and, like, here's a question: where was Unit during the Cybermen takeover in 1986 in the 10th planet? Why wasn't there a Unit there? I guess, wibbly wobbly timey wimey, because the Doctor later met Lethbridge Stewart. That's when Unit was founded. Before that event happened, so now there is Unit doing that. It's complicated. Time travel gets more and more complicated the more you think about it, so it's best not to think about it and just focus on the fact that we now have a proper military organization exclusive to this universe, exclusive to the Doctor Who universe, that is now a big integral part of the Doctor Who mythos that the Doctor is now a part of, thanks to this episode, because he's stuck on Earth. I mean, they collect his police box to bring it back to HQ, and that is where it's going to remain for the remainder of the Jon Pertwee era. We obviously get reintroduced into Lethbridge Stewart now as a brigadier, obviously, since the previous episode, falling in line and really feeling comfortable in his spot as the head of Unit at this time. Still missing the Doctor, still wishes he could have met the Doctor a couple more times to help him with some other crises, I would assume. But we also get introduced to this new character, Liz Shaw, who is going to be the assistant of the Doctor, not companion, because technically speaking, they haven't actually traveled in space and time in the TARDIS, at least not on the TV show, that is. But yeah, we got a proper new assistant and new companion, which, in my opinion, was a great foil to the Doctor. She was a great assistant to the Doctor. It's just a shame that they never quite used her properly. I mean, we get this woman, this contemporary Earth woman, who is brilliant. She's incredibly intelligent. She's really smart. She's capable of matching wits with the Doctor and being the assistant that he needed during this time. And she's not afraid to speak her own mind and put the Doctor in his place when she needs to. She's not afraid to talk back to the Brigadier and put him in his place when she needs to. It's just a shame that she never got to do that as much. She doesn't really get to do that a lot during her 4 serial run. And there's some nitpicks with this character that I will get to eventually. But yeah, the Doctor manages to reunite with the Brigadier. He escapes the hospital and gets captured again, escapes again. I love those moments of the Doctor trying to escape, getting a shot, and that's really how the cliffhanger is, only to reveal that the Doctor goes back. And this episode also introduced a lot of great new things into the Doctor Who mythos about the Doctor himself that we didn't know about, like him having 2 hearts, or his ability to force himself into a coma that only he can wake up from when he chooses to. That's some great stuff. And we haven't even gotten to talk about the villains of this piece, the Autons. We get introduced to the Autons for the first time in this episode, and what a great way to introduce them, and a great way to start this season. There's a reason why the Autons were used again to reintroduce us all to Doctor Who in the modern series. Such a great idea for a villain. I mean, obviously, again, it's the 60s, pollution, and plastic is evil, plastic is going to kill us, environmentalist stuff. It all fits perfectly within the Doctor Who framework. Like, it's a great concept to bring into a Doctor Who, to make plastic an actual villain in Doctor Who, and I think their introduction was really great. And I suppose, in a way, it also serves to, shall we say, explain why the effects look so cheap. Like, the asteroids land, and you can clearly tell that they're just plastic. But is that what we're supposed to think? Maybe because they are literally made of living plastic. Who knows? So yeah, this also introduces us to the nesting consciousness, which I think the nesting consciousness as an idea, as the octopus thing that it is in this episode, is really good. I understand why they changed it for the modern series. We'll talk about that eventually when we get to that episode. But it's a great foil for the Doctor and a great villain. That plus the factory owner and the factory underlings, and just the imagery of these plastic shop window dummies coming to life and shooting people in the street in broad daylight. That's amazing. I mean, you want to make people afraid of plastic? That's a great way to get that point across. And I like it. I love the different shooting locations that they use all throughout this episode. You can kind of tell that with this new format, this is really what we're going to get now. We're going to get Doctor Who out in the open, no longer in like makeshift planets inside a soundstage studio. We're getting the Doctor wide in the open, out in the streets, out in the shops, out in factories. This new look for the show is great. It works perfectly for the 70s, and obviously the Doctor now working side by side with Unit. You can tell from this episode that this is really going to be a good format going forward. Now we're getting to some of the nitpicks that we talked about earlier. Obviously, the Doctor wanting to leave again, or always wanting to leave. I understand that. I get that. He's the Doctor. He can't be tied to one place in one time. So I understand why he keeps trying to leave and just, leave Unit alone to figure out their own problems. Kind of feels a bit undoctory, but I mean, at the same time, it is exactly what the Doctor would do in these types of situations. And the nitpick I mentioned earlier is that Liz, with all her intelligence and smarts, she kind of falls for the Doctor's tricks a little too often, especially in this episode where he sends her to get the key to the TARDIS for the Doctor so he can get some equipment from his laboratory, which obviously then is revealed to be that he just asked for the key so he can escape, which ultimately fails. And the Doctor does that to Liz several times throughout the season, and it kind of sucks that such an intelligent character had to fall for these tricks so often, but whatever. I mean, we can't really change the past. That is really the only problem I have with the character of Liz Shaw, that despite her smarts and intelligence, she falls for the same Doctor tricks a bunch of times. But then again, I mean, it is the Doctor. He can fool almost everybody, except, of course, the Brigadier. And, yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. I think I talked about all I can say about this episode. I love this episode, and I love this era. I love this Doctor so much. And can't wait to talk about some more John Pertwee era episodes, because it's one of my favorite eras in Doctor Who of all time. So, until the next time, everybody, don't trust the plastic. Hi there! Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.